Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. 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 Wake up, today's gonna be a good day.
Good morning, and welcome to Good Morning Crypto, where we turn your early hours in the morning into your edge and financial freedom. Today, I've got a few headlines. I'm going to try to run through them. They're pretty decent sized. I've got one about Scott Bessent's confirmation as Treasury Secretary. I also have one on the Bank of Japan and what they were talking about at their minutes in December. And I also have a new platform that I was wanting to talk about that will be adopted for businesses to use to take crypto payments. So let's dive on in to that stock heat map and get y'all prepped for some success today. We did get a bit of an update for the big seven, but the rest of the market's still looking kind of red. We do have Apple sitting up at 3.65 from its close yesterday, down 0.22 in the pre-market right now. Nvidia sitting up 8.93, really getting bought up after that big drop. Sitting down just a little bit in that pre-market, down 0.82. We've got Berkshire Hathaway sitting down 8%, looking quite neutral this morning so far, up 0.07. We've got Amazon sitting up a 1.16, and the pre-market sitting up quite nicely as well, up 0.78. We've got Eli Lilly sitting in that slightly neutral down range, down 0.39 in the pre-market, also taking a little bit of losses, down 0.25%. We've got ExxonMobil sitting down 1.93 from its close, sitting down 0.07 in the pre-market. We've got Tesla sitting up 0.24% in the pre-market, taking back all of those gains, sitting down 0.24%. We've got P&G sitting down 2.05 after it had an amazing time while the rest of the market was dropping, and the pre-market doing all right, sitting quite neutral in that 0.05% up range. We do have Microsoft sitting up at 2.91% from its close, seeing a little bit of some sell-off in the pre-market, down 0.12. We've got Google sitting up quite nicely, 1.7% up, and in the pre-market, seeing some buying pressure as well, up 0.32%. We do have Meta also in that nice green range, up 2.19 in the pre-market, seeing some buying pressure as well, up 0.66. We do have crypto looking pretty green for the morning. Nothing massively green so far, but Bitcoin sitting up a 1.18. We've got Ethereum up a 1.79. XRP sitting up a 0.86. We've got BNB sitting up a 1.26. Dogecoin sitting up a 2.76. We've got Solana sitting up a 1.9. Cardano sitting up a 1.56. Tron sitting up 0.42%, so lagging a little bit behind the rest of that top 10. And we've got Chainlink sitting up a 3.59. Stellar Lumens also up like XRP, up 0.92. We've got Toncoin sitting up 1.3. HBAR doing quite nicely as well, sitting up a 3.19, and SWI sitting up 1.87. Let's hop over to that economic calendar for today. We did just get some mortgage rate data coming out at 7. We did see a little bit of a slowdown in those mortgage rate applications from 0.1% down 2%. We also saw some of the refinancing slowing down as well. This was a big upside from last time, where we did see that big move back up. And now we are seeing that slow back down on things on mortgage rate applications and the housing market in general. We will have goods trade balance at 8:30 Eastern time, as well as wholesale inventories month over month. A little bit later in the day, we do get that crude oil information. Bank of Canada also has an interest rate decision today as well, looking to cut rates the same way that the European Central Bank is looking to cut rates. They are ahead of us in our rate cutting cycle, and they are at some nice levels for their inflation where they feel comfortable cutting rates again. For the biggie today, we do have at 2 o'clock that federal interest rate decision. It is looking like no change on that, and that's what the market has been pricing in. We will take a look at that Fed watch tool here in a little bit. Other than that, there's not anything too heavy for the rest of the day. I would look at a lot of this being preparation for tomorrow's moves. We do have a lot of GDP data coming out, not just in the US, but all over the world. France's GDP, Germany's GDP, Italy's GDP, the Bank of England's consumer credit coming out tomorrow. We also have the GDP for the European Union as well tomorrow. And the biggie for tomorrow during our trading time frame is going to be that GDP quarter over quarter and year over year for the US. So a lot of these moves are going to be in preparation for tomorrow's data. We also do get that core PCE quarter over quarter as well. Looking like we're going to be moving in some of the wrong directions on some of this data. I've been waiting to do some buying until after we get that FOMC decision, which is looking like that holding rates where it's at. Let's take a look at our fear and greeds. We are sitting in that neutral range for the stocks, back up 1 point, sitting at 45. We do have the crypto side of things sitting at no change, still in greed. Jay Violet saying so much data is coming out. Yep, and that's why the first show for my week was heavy data to move the markets, because we're seeing a lot of heavy data coming out. I see CT saying DEX on the short term. I can definitely try and take a look at that one. Let me get that on the list. Seeing liquidations on the 3-month chart. Big VWAP coming, says Jesse. 7 minutes into the stream, already hating on XRP. Oh boy, what did that? oh, because of all those XRP ads. Yep, they've been quite prevalent. You know, you see that a lot when you get big moves on projects. I remember last time there was all those Bitcoin ads and Michael Saylor ads when we got that first push up in our bull run. For that liquidation heat map, we do have a lot of liquidity sitting to the top side of us on this 24-hour chart. We do have 103,700 being the start of that hotspot, and that runs all the way up to almost 104,000. If we are unable to really go grab that liquidity before some of the data that we're going to get today, before that FOMC decision today, I might not look at fully grabbing it. We might leave that open for coming to get later. We do have, for that 3-day, all the liquidity sitting to the top side, sitting at that $104,000 range. If you zoom that on out just a little bit more though, you do see that top side liquidity being 107,200, where we saw some topping back here. And if you zoom that on out a little bit further to that 2-week, you can kind of start to see we do have some bottom side liquidity to grab. And this is where you might see that big push down if you do get that data that's not overwhelmingly positive and it's right around some of my bottom side targets that I'd be not joyous to see, but definitely clicking the buy button on. We do have that 97,200 being that hottest spot in the range there. We did take out a lot of the liquidity right above that when we got that big move to the bottom side, but we left some liquidity there, which leads me to believe that we might go grab that. You do have some light hot spots sitting to the top side at those key highs that we had seen, 107,500, and then again back up at that $109,000 range. Sorry for the blinding CME tool. We are looking at that 99.5% of a no interest rate movement today. So that's what the market's priced in, and I would be waiting for after that to kind of see the bigger moves on the market today. Let's say good morning to the chat. I did see quite a bit of people in here, and the chat's been moving. We got Jeffrey Stone Cipher, Kyle Fields, Rashad in here, Jay Violet, and Jesse Gulak. Good morning to you all. I see. Let's scroll it on down. Donato Cabrera, and looks like that's about it. And Arsan246 as well. Good morning to you. Let's see. That's about it I'm seeing in the chat so far. If there are any other alt requests, since I already got one, go ahead and drop those in the chat for me. Jay Violet seeing I never see ads on YouTube. You probably got that YouTube Premium. I see ads because I'm frugal and I don't mind ads. Normally, I have an ad blocker on stuff, and it's decent, and it'll nix out a lot of the ads that I don't want to see. So sometimes it works on YouTube, sometimes it doesn't. YouTube likes to change stuff around and try to make sure they're pulling in that ad revenue. Google's pretty good about that. We got Bitcoin as sitting at a key level here that I was talking about needing to turn into some support here. As you can kind of see, we did get some wicking above that range, but our candle bodies were really on top of the range that I was wanting to see here. That 102, 800 turned into some support here. I see Baba Yaz in the chat. Good morning to you, sir. We did get that brief drop back below the range, and it looks like we are trying to get back to that point. You do have some nice curvature back to the upside on your prime oscillator, as well as that MACD, looking to try to get that more moves to the upside on that. But if we are unable to break above this, then you might just see this more moving sideways here as we try to, as those oscillators heat up just a bit. Your volume is rolling over on the 4 hour, as well as your selling as well. So looking like a little more selling pressure heading this way as we get to these key levels on that 4 hour chart here. You do have that 1 hour looking a little bit toppy as well. That volume really hit that strong downside on things. As you can see, it rolled over quite hard, and as the money flow is coming in with some buying pressure. I see AVAX requested. Let me get that on the list. That MACD is also getting a little bit to that point where you're gonna see that roll over as well. Just waiting for that last little extension on things before we really start seeing those reversal signals start flashing on our prime oscillator and get that heavy curvature back of our MACD. You did see the nice little kind of double up here where you got nice buying pressure coming on in, or a slow up on the selling pressure here of the 1 hour that really got that move back up where we'd see that strong curvature back down on things. So probably going to see that same thing here on the 1 hour as well. That 15 minute does have that buying pressure being very solid here, but your trading volume is slowing up. We are now in that red range on our trading volume. Venice token, go ahead and drop the the actual ticker for it so I can have it looked up. We do see your MACD hitting a nice little cross of our indicator line here as we're trying to get above these key levels. Your prime oscillator is still red though, as we're getting this move to the upside as our trading volume is kind of faltering here. So this could all just be more sideways movements. We do have nice resistance here above the 103 300 range, where once we got above that, we saw very hard selling pressure. So that's going to be that area that we would need to get above on this 15-minute time frame to kind of confirm some bullishness as we hit some of the crossings of our MACD indicator, as well as that prime oscillator turning green. He says VVV. Thank you for that, Jesse. Other than that, I would look at us coming into some resistance in this range. We do have a bunch of more negative data that's coming out, so a lot of these moves might just be to grab some of the short-term topside liquidity that we had talked about in that liquidation heat map before we really try to drag back down. I had talked about that 95 300 range that we had some liquidity sitting right above. This was a key area of support as well. That most of the liquidity is sitting right in between the lows from here and the low from way back before, where I've got this line drawn out at. That would be that range I would really look at coming and grabbing. It was a very, very heavy hot spot on that higher term time frame. I see French Toaster in here saying, Chan man, good morning to you, French Toaster. Hope you're having a great morning so far. Let's hop over to some of these news articles. I did have Stratus to release Stratus Money Services on February 5th. This was something I was looking at because it's the kind of adoption I would like to see coming into crypto. Not a big fan. All these meme coin ETFs that have been applied for recently. I know a lot of people say, a lot of people say that we any eyes are good eyes, but I am of a differing opinion, and I think that we need the proper eyes in crypto to try to get the right adoption and progress things forward. So Stratus has announced the launch of Stratus Money Service, a new crypto to fiat payment gateway set to go on February 5th, designed to help businesses accept cryptocurrency payments. The serve aims to bridge the gap between digital assets and traditional finance. The key features of this platform is regulated by the Bank of Spain, ensuring compliance with financial standards, accepts payments on Arbitrum, Base, Polygon, Ethereum, and a few other networks as well. Security measures using Microsoft hardware security modules for secure key management, converts crypto payments into fiat immediately minimizing exposure to volatility. Businesses can opt to accept only stablecoins for reduced risk. The beta version is now available and allowing businesses to test the service before the full rollout. This is something I am definitely going to be keeping my eye on. There's been a lot of talk about businesses accepting cryptocurrencies as payments, and I think this is the first step in the right direction, especially since they have that immediate rollout from your cryptocurrency into a stable coin to keep that money safe. This is what businesses are going to want to do, especially if they are using crypto. Unless they have full confidence in that project, it would allow them to keep that money safe and also transact extremely quickly and have that payment done and over with at the time of transaction instead of waiting 3 days or 5 days to actually have that payment come through and then the bank's holding on to their money and then not getting that payment for say 2 weeks or so, because that's a big problem with businesses. So we'll have to watch how this progresses. We did have the Bank of Japan signaled intent to keep hiking rates from their December meeting. The Bank of Japan board members discussed how to use estimates on economy's neutral interest rate to determine further hikes and borrowing costs, with one saying the Bank of Japan's policy rate was still far from that level. Minutes of their December meeting showed. Another member questioned whether it was appropriate to use estimates based on data from Japan's prolonged period of deflation and determining the timing of future interest rate hikes, according to the minutes released on Wednesday. If the policy rate approached the neutral rate, the Bank of Japan would need to slow the pace of rate hikes to carefully examine how the economy and prices would respond. At this point, however, the policy rate is still far from neutral. It's therefore desirable to raise rates in a timely manner, the member was quoted as saying, suggesting the Bank of Japan had scope to push up borrowing costs several more times in the current cycle. And this is where the market has already started pricing in March being another rate hike for them. Having them participate would be beneficial in monitoring the effects of raising interest rates on Japan's financial system, one member quoted. At the present, the staff only attend the 4 meetings that produce quarterly growth and inflation forecasts. The Bank of Japan kept interest rates steady at December 18th meeting on the view that it needed more time to scrutinize wage developments and U.S. economic policy. It raised rates 2.5% from 0.25% in the subsequent meeting in January. This is something we will have to keep our eyes on and have to keep our eyes on the Dixie as well. Just waiting to see how this progresses for the market, especially if we do see a weakening of the dollar and another hike from them. It might cause that Japan carry trade to come our way. Really going to have to see if we are going to be cutting rates for the U.S. as well. This was the biggie I was wanting to talk about. We did have Scott Bessent finally confirmed by the Senate. The U.S. Senate confirmed Scott Bessent as the next Secretary of Treasury, becoming the chief economic spokesman for Donald Trump and his sweeping agenda of tax cuts, deregulation, and trade rebalancing. The former hedge fund manager won confirmation by a vote of 68 to 29 on Monday. Besides the support of all Republican senators, Bessent secured the backing of one independent and 15 Democrats, and a sign the minority party might be more willing to cooperate with the administration on certain economic matters than during Trump's first term. Trump's first secretary, Steve Mnuchin, garnered a single Democratic vote in 2017. Bessent becomes Trump's fifth cabinet pick to get confirmed, highlighting the importance of lawmakers place on quickly having someone at the Treasury's helm and reflecting Bessent's drama-free confirmation. Once sworn in, the 62-year-old former colleague of billionaire George Soros will face an immediate challenge managing the U.S. debt load. The federal debt limit kicked in back in the start of January, which we talked about here on Piper Academy, forcing the Treasury to deploy special accounting maneuvers to avoid breaching it. And on February 5th, the department is due to update its plan for the issuance of treasuries at a time of historically wide budget deficits. It's been 3 decades since bond vigilantes bullied a sitting administration into curbing the national... No, I hate those ads. into bullying the administration into curbing the national's fiscal trajectory. Bill Clinton was forced to rejig his economic agenda to bring down Treasury yields that had climbed in the wake of his 1992 election, in turn threatening to boost borrowing costs for Americans on everything from home mortgages to credit cards, with the benchmark 10-year yields threatening to test the 5% level. Thanks in part to the fiscal outlook, Bessent's expertise in financial markets is seen as a particular asset among potential disruption from everything from tariff surprises, tax and a tax plan to shift in monetary policy. Even his Democratic predecessor, Janet Yellen, highlighted his market experience before leaving office this month. We have, and this is going to be some of the key points that Bessent is looking at handling first. Bessent, in his January 16th confirmation hearing, underscored his concern about the size of the federal borrowing being at such a scale it could potentially constrain the federal government's response to future crises. We have never seen this before, he said, at the current deficit being in excess of 6% of GDP, despite the U.S. not being in a recession or at war. His fiscal warning was an echo similar comments dating to Treasury chiefs in the George Bush administration until now. Still, it's Congress that decides on taxes and spending, so Bessent will need to persuade not just the president to make spending cuts, but also lawmakers. The incoming Treasury chief will have to reconcile his deficit reduction plans. He has targeted shrinking it to 3% of GDP, with the Trump administration's much anticipated tax cuts, which some economists caution may only worsen the fiscal outlook. Bessent has argued that the problem is spending, not taxation level, and that Trump's pro-growth agenda will improve fiscal situations alongside revenue streams from measures including tariffs. As a whole, a whole of government approach that couples deregulation with tax reform and other economic levers, such as implementing strong trade policies, will unleash an economic golden age, Bessent said in his State Finance Committee hearing. Taxation largely dominated the session, with some Democrats voicing their opposition. Now, it may not come as any big surprise that a hedge fund manager would defend an unfair tax system that's rigged to benefit hedge fund managers, said Ron Wyden, the top Democrat at the finance panel, who joined the bulk of his party's Senate caucus in voting against Bessent's confirmation. But he struggled with tax questions throughout the hearing. And this is where you're going to have to see things coming in for the next administration. You are going to see the tariffs being that first thing that we are going to handle. This will allow us to kind of cut some of our taxes that we're going to need to. Yeah, I know some of it might be a little bit boring, but a lot of people don't read past the headline, and this is where you need the full breakdown on some of this. I skipped on a lot of the article because the rest of it was just kind of, but that's the part that I kind of wanted to get to. Scott Bessent, being this next administration's Secretary Treasury, is going to bring a lot of good things our way. It will negate some of the negatives of the Trump administration, because he wanted to do 100% tariffs on China. Scott Bessent talked him down to like 25% tariffs or 20% tariffs. And as you have a solid, strong head coming in there to counteract some of the wilder policies of Trump, you might see a nice boost to the upside. You will see a lot of these tariffs having potential downsides, as well as cutting taxes having potential downsides. But this is where you need to balance things. And this is something Scott Bessent has talked about a lot. And this will bring a stronger dollar and also bring a stronger U.S. economy. If you have tariffs at a point where you bring manufacturing back into the U.S., you will see a nice boost in American jobs, which also brings in a boost of taxes as well. So instead of raising taxes, you're able to get more taxes by bringing more money into the United States. You also will see, like last time when he was president, more money coming into these businesses because you will have those businesses producing more and more incentive with those tax cuts and more people to invest that money because there are tax cuts. This is something I've been keeping my eye on because we did have a boost of corporate investment by 35% last Trump administration, which is great for your assets. And if we can negate some of the bad parts of this, which is what Bessent wants to do, where we did widen the federal deficit, and he's talked about dropping that to all-time lows that we have seen in quite a while to 3% of GDP. This would negate some of the negatives of your tariffs and your tax cuts as well. This is going to be very crucial for the Dixie as well. We are kind of in a bit of an uptrend on the Dixie, but we're seeing a lot of unsurety in the markets. So this has been something that has dragged the Dixie down just a little bit. What do you think? We're watching a stream. I don't know what else to tell you, says CT. Well, I'm sorry you didn't like it. I dive into a lot of the macro and the news here, and the second half of my show is more TA. So stay tuned for the rest of that. I wonder how the market's going to react when the public finds out Trump chose a pro. Yeah, I don't think that matters too much on the market. You know, Scott Bessent is openly gay. I don't think a lot of people care too much about what someone agrees with as long as they're good for the job that they're in. And that's kind of what we're seeing more in this administration. All right there. Let's hop into some of these assets I was looking at for the morning. We did have the Russell 2000 sitting at some key levels. I had talked about that pushback up to the midline of our fair value gap from yesterday, and we were sitting right at that point. I am kind of looking at a potential rejection in that range. You do have the MACD getting a bit of a rollover here underneath your indicator line, as well as your prime oscillator looking quite red as your trading volume is slowing down quite a bit. Thank you, Retro Mike Tech, for that $3.99 super chat there. I appreciate you. Good morning, good morning. I hope you're having a great morning so far. Got Paul Caruso in the chat saying, good morning, brother. Good morning to you. I hope you're having a great day so far. We are getting a little bit to the point where we might see this midline of our fair value gap turn into some resistance here, especially with that prime oscillator staying light red and not really getting that money flow coming back in. It's not really looking like a risk on sector, a risk on time for some of the stocks, and that's where we'll have to keep our eye on that for crypto as well. We're also seeing gold making moves back to some all-time highs here. We are getting a bit of a retracement. It did get massive moves to the upside though, so that's kind of what you want to see after big moves to the upside. A little bit of a retracement. We are making some higher lows here, kind of forming a bit of a head and shoulders pattern. So we might be breaking back up towards those all-time highs, about $2,790 here, especially if we're going to be seeing some of the bad data and the markets being more uncertain on things. I would look at trying to confirm some of these ranges down here as strong support, being that 2,749, where we saw very equal candle bodies but not equal. We did wick below, so confirming that as some support making some higher lows here before we really continue that move to the upside. French Toaster saying, gotta head into work. Catch you guys later. You have a great day, French Toaster. I will see you later in the chats. I was also taking a look at the Dixie here. We did have the Dixie back above this level that I really didn't want to see broken here. This was that 107.5 range. That was some strong resistance back on the Dixie. Let's zoom this back on out to the hourly. I don't know why I was taking a look at those shorter term time frames, but you do have the Dixie back above that key level. It did create a bit of a gap here. So as we see your prime oscillator getting a bit of some rollover here. Let me get that moved over so y'all can see it. Got that prime oscillator getting a bit of some rollover, and your true 7 is getting to that point where it might clip as well as that. You're seeing some rollover in volume. Your MACD does have a little bit more room to run here, and it looks like we've got some strong resistance back at that 108.30, about 40 that we're going to need to try to get above. There's a lot of kind of fair value gaps here to test as we get to that range. We only tested the midline of that, so getting back up to that and testing the midline of would be very bullish for the dollar. I was also taking a look at NEAR this morning. Actually, last night it was requested in the Discord. If y'all are not a part of the Discord, we do a lot in the Discord. We have a lot of fun in there. We also go over a lot of charts. I know LBC dropped a lot of Bitcoin data in the Discord. So if you're not a WAP upperclassman, you might want to check out that link in the description. There's some great TA that gets dropped all day long from the members and also from our content creators. You are seeing NEAR kind of at some crucial points here. We did get back above some key levels that I wanted to see us kind of maintain. We do have a bit of a lower level that we could potentially hit here, as we're seeing a bit of a roll over on this 4 hour. You did just see the prime oscillator looking kind of green here as your true 7's picking back up, but your volume and your money flow were kind of getting a bit of a rollover here. You did see your MACD hit that cross of our indicator line on the bottom side of things, but it's a very sideways cross, indicating that there might not be a lot of strength in the move back up on things. We did see that 1 hour looking very toppy as well. Strong move to the upside, but your volume is slowing down very, very quickly here, and really going to need to see money flow try to maintain this price here. The true 7 also moving quite sideways here in this range. As we kind of move sideways, would really need to see that 15-minute kind of have that big massive spike up, but that's kind of the opposite of what we're looking at here. Your trading volume is slowing up quite a bit as we got back above this key level. Might try to retest it for a last little push up before we really break back down. You've got a nice little divergence here, your MACD looking across that indicator line, and we're really dropping off hard on the money flow as well. I was on that Coinbase chart, I really saw that money flow. This is more the all-time NEAR chart, so I don't have that money flow to show you. Lunar Beaches Crypto, good morning, good morning. I hope you're having a great morning so far. Any other alt requests that anyone has, go ahead and drop those in the chat. I've got plenty of time this morning. We did have AVAX requested. Let me pull that one up here. AVAX looking like we're back in some key levels here. Let's zoom it on out. Take a look at that daily. I know it's been a little while since I've looked at AVAX for y'all. Let's kind of see. We do have your MACD is sitting at a point where we're trying to get that curvature back to the upside. Tau, I can definitely take a look at Tau. Tau was one of those few projects that did very well while the rest of the market was dropping. All right there. We do have that golden pocket sitting right below us. I don't think we go all the way back down to that golden pocket unless we're really seeing Bitcoin get that harsh drop back down to that $98,000 range. That Piper has talked about quite a bit here. It does look like this area is going to be a bit of a battle range. I was wanting to see us hold some of these levels here, and when we dropped below quite hard. We rejected quite strongly off of the top side of this fair value gap, which was a brief wick above that 50% line on our fib extension before we really lost all of this. Your prime oscillator really staying on the bottom side of things, not getting too much green. We do see the brief move up, but it only really gets green here at the top before it rolls over. There's lots of divergences stacking up. So if we do get some strong money flow coming in here as buying pressure, could see that nice push back up here to our 50% fib. Would need to zoom on in, kind of see what that 1 hour is bringing our way. That was 2 hour there. Let's take a look at the 1 hour. Getting a bit of a rollover here on the 1 hour as well, as we're in that key range that I wanted to see us hold. Let's kind of get that out of there for now. We are dropping to the bottom side. Oh, that was the wrong rectangle. Let me get the right rectangle. There we go. As you can kind of see here, that was an area that I was looking at for some buying pressure. We didn't see too much buying pressure, but we did see some buying pressure back into that range, and it's kind of turned into some selling pressure here this morning. We do have that MACD rolling over quite nicely, and that prime oscillator getting that sideways movement here. So if we can maintain some of this ranges here, make a higher low here, we've got plenty, you've got some kind of equal wicks here where you could retest that selling pressure and continue back up to the upside and come up to that $34.49, about 50-cent range. So that would be that next move that I'd kind of look for the top side on the more higher term time frame chart. Does look like we might try to make a bit of an equal low here at that 31.87 mark though, especially with the heavy curvature we're seeing on the bottom side on the MACD. I did have VVV requested, so I've never taken a look at that. We will see what that is bringing our way. Venice, it's in a massive downtrend there. Jesse, I don't know if there's a better one to take a look at this on, because Coinbase is just in a downtrend here. As soon as it launched on Coinbase, it just saw some sell-off. Let's see what Bybit, all downwards. Binance, brand new there. Is there a better exchange for me to take a look at this on? You let me know in the chat, and I will take a look at Tau as I wait to see if someone knows the best history on that, because they all look kind of short there. Let's scroll on down to my favorites and take a look at Tau. We were unable to reclaim this 382 on our pushback up, and we're starting to see some rollover here on the 1 hour as well as the 4 hour, getting that point of curvature as well. Jesse will have to catch the replay. Yeah, it's kind of hard to do TA on something that's just like this. So there's not really like a bottoming point. It looks like it's still in a downtrend. I know it just launched on Coinbase, so if you weren't in on like before the Coinbase listing, it's kind of hard to kind of find a bottoming point, especially when I don't have a chart to really see the bottoms before the whole move up to see the bottoms. So Hopefully Jesse can drop that information for me later. All right. We did see that push back up to that 382 here, which is looking like some strong resistance. The 4 hour getting that bit of a rollover. The prime oscillator looking quite green as it is getting a bit of some rollover here too. 0 is the bottoming out point, says Retro Mike Tech. Yeah, that's definitely one bottoming point, but it's not the bottoming point that a lot of people are probably looking for. I know a lot of people took profits on that one. Knox Bill in the chat. Good morning to you, sir. How about ETH? I can definitely take a look at ETH, especially since I couldn't look at VVV this morning. I did see DEXE requested as well, so we'll take a look at that one as well. 4 hour looking like a bit of some rollover here as well. You've got some strong bounces off of these candle bodies. On this move to the upside, looking to kind of cool off on your higher term time frames. 1 hour looking a bit like we're gonna see that rollover too. That volume is slowing up, but your true 7 is moving quite sideways here, so seeing a bit of a higher low, or at least making some equal lows here that retest the highs would be a nice little move to see here. That is that 458, where we see those very equal candle bodies all along, where we really retested before we pushed back up to that 382. That is a strong area to come in and retest here on Tau. You do have the 15-minute looking like we're at those points where we'd start seeing those bottomings there, right at those equal candle bodies from that 1 hour where we really got that launch back to the upside. You are seeing your prime oscillator very, very red here, waiting for some reversal signals to start flashing, and some oversold signals as well. MACD looking like it's got some heavy curvature here as well. You do have strong support underneath that if we do break below here in this $436 range. That would be a nice area to hold. We got very equal candle bodies there and a wick bounce straight to the upside off of that range. Other than that, I would kind of look at those two areas to try to see that reversal on price. I don't know how. It's going to be a battle to try to get above that very psychological 500 and 382 range on our Fibonacci extension. So cooling off a bit here on your shorter term time frames, as well as seeing those higher term time frames cool off but not look too bearish would be that move to see, especially off of those bouncing points. We did have ETH requested. Let's take a look at ETH real quick before I take a look at something I've never looked at in my life, because sometimes it takes a little bit of time there. We did have ETH bouncing off of some key levels there before we really moved back down to the bottom side. Let's zoom this on out to a daily chart, see what the macro might be bringing our way. Might have to pull up a Fibonacci retracement to see where we're sitting in this range. We are sitting at right below that 50% line on a Fibonacci extension, but definitely looking like there might be a little more downside there. I know Piper talked about that 2,900 range to maybe see a little bit of a bouncing point. Going to hide that Fibonacci extension and see where we are sitting on a retracement here. Where is my Fibonacci extension on that? I'm not seeing the oh, it's the run to run. There we go. Sometimes I name my things and it gets a little bit bothersome. We do see that 382 being a bit of a resistance point right here. If we're unable to maintain that and get above it, then that would be that point 500 fib level. What is this? Baseball? 50% fib retracement. You know what I meant. You meant what I knew. Let's take a look at that 1 hour here. Getting that curvature on the 1 hour, as well as we are looking to fail to maintain this 382 on our retracement as some support. This would be that key level to kind of hold here right below that 382, and that's at almost a 3,000 on the mark. You do have a little bit of a wick down there to the 3,020 mark, which if we were unable to maintain, would not look too pretty for Ethereum. We do have a bit of a strong support line that I've had drawn out for quite a while here, which you got very strong bounces off of way back here. As you can see, strong bounces off of it, strong bounces off of it. And that would be what I would not want to see us break below. You can see it's been held up quite nicely here. And that would be that last point that I would really look at us coming back down to if we're unable to maintain some of these key levels here. You do have a bit of a point where you could see some bouncing right there at that 2,919, and that's that range that Piper was talking about yesterday on his show there. You do have that 50% fib retracement coming in at $2,800, and that would be that last hold there. If we are unable to maintain, that would be that resistance line coming back into play. Is that the doggo? Oh, yeah, that's the doggo. Well, let's take a look at that 15-minute, see what the morning might be bringing our way here. We did have a bit of a rollover here on your MACD and your prime oscillator. MACD crossing that zero line, really looking to come back down a little bit further. Let's zoom this on in so you can see it a bit better here for the 15-minute. Getting some nice rollover, straight breaking down that below that zero line, seeing our prime oscillator at that point where you might start seeing some reversal signals start flashing here on some lower ranges. You do have your money flow rolling over here. Got distracted. Did I miss AVAX update? Yeah, I did do AVAX. Was looking at a bit of a push up before that macro comes back into play. So you might have to scroll back just a little bit. I know we'll have some timestamps here a little bit later on the video. You got your money flow kind of rolling over on ETH, looking to become some selling pressure here at this 382 range. This would be that point that we might be unable to hold here. Might get a brief little bounce back up to the upside to make a one last little lower high before we really drop back down. This is with the MACD crossing that zero line, creating some nice gap from the indicator as well. 15-minute looking kind of bearish, but that doesn't mean we don't see some bounces here along the way to let those oscillators kind of cool off on. Let's take a look at that last request here. DEXE. I've never heard of it before. And I'm not sure which exchange has the best history. Oh, massive moves to the downside there. Let's zoom it on out. Take a look at the daily. Try to find some key Fibonacci levels. Nice little retrace though. It is in a bit of an uptrend. Let's get a trend-based Fibonacci extension drawn out from the lows to the highs to our lows here, and it looks like we were unable to maintain that 50% fib here on the retracement. Really trying to hold that level though here at current times. We do have the daily looking like it's going to roll over a bit heavily here. Let's kind of get a fib retracement to see what levels we might take a little bit of a pause at. Got the low to the high. There we go. Let's hide that Fibonacci extension there and see what we might drop to here on our shorter term time frames. We are dropping below that 50% and trying to come back down to our golden pocket, which we got some nice launches to the upside on. Definitely looking like that 1 hour is trying to find that bottoming point. This is all a massive fair value gap here that we're drawing, so I will have to wait for that bottom. I think I've only heard one on things. Nice. Yeah, I've definitely been thinking about it. I was about to say it before I hopped over to this asset, but I caught myself and I was like, let's just dive in. So definitely been in my mind that y'all been saying it. So Lunar Beaches, can't wait to short the Ponzi. Are you talking about Ethereum as a Ponzi, sir? Oh no. I know you're not a big fan of trading Ethereum, but like everything's built on Ethereum. If we didn't have Ethereum, we wouldn't have a lot of the projects that we have there. Hey, at least it's better than Solana. I said it, and you can let me know how you feel about it. We do have that 1 hour getting a bit of some rollover here on our prime oscillator, looking like we might try to pull back up to this 50% line on our fib retracement, that $14.54 range. Move kind of sideways here. We do have some strong buying pressure right below this, where we did see a nice wick back up here, and we're really trying to pull back up to the 50% fib retracement. You do have the MACD looking like there's got plenty of room to continue down to the bottom side though. That would be that golden pocket that might come back into play on the macro. That's that $12.86. Let's take a look at that 15-minute and see what the morning is bringing our way. Do have the MACD getting that curve back to the upside as we just crossed our indicator line on the bottom side. You do have the prime oscillator getting a bit of some rollover here. It is green though. Your money flow picking back up, looking like a bit of a slow down on the sell-off, but your volume's really slowing down. So waiting to see if that money flow can kind of come back in and we maintain our current volume. That would be maintaining this 50% fib line, or at least the area right below it. If we are unable to get back up above that on the shorter term time frame, I would look at that dropping back down. Let's draw that fair value gap out here on the 15-minute. See where we might retest and falter. Did get that move back up, and that's sitting right above our 382 there. That's that $16.79. That would be that macro test point. Once we get that nice curvature back that we're seeing on the 15-minute onto the 1 hour here for both our MACD and our prime oscillator. Prime oscillator not showing any reversal signals, just seeing those oversold signals so far. So definitely have some more macro down. So definitely might have some more macro downside on this project here. Thank you to everyone that showed up today. Hit the wrong hotkey there. Yep, it's about time to head over to AlexO Crypto. Thank you to everyone that showed up today. I know there was a bit of a boring article there, but I hoped you enjoyed the breakdown and some of my thoughts on it, because I'm kind of overjoyed that we got some people that are not fully yes men to Donald Trump in his cabinet. So make sure to tune in to the morning market report at 9:30 Eastern time. We'll get that full breakdown of today's data and maybe what to see when we see those FOMC minutes. It's going to be at 9:30 Eastern time with Piper and OC. We do have Trade Academy with Trade Intuition at 4 p.m. Eastern time. That's a great show to learn that TA if you are struggling a bit, or you're not sure what you're seeing on the charts, or you just want to hang out and have a good time. We do have Crypto Nightcap with FDY and TradeFly at 8 p.m. Eastern, and Markets After Dark with Lunar Beaches Crypto in the chat at 11 p.m. Eastern. Go ahead, give that last one a watch after when you have some downtime. So thank you to each and every one of you. Make sure to wake up because today is going to be a good day.